No, it's more than just a sweet moment. Dickens was making a point, wasn't he?
Oh, absolutely. He was shining a light on the reality of poverty in Victorian England.
The Cratchit family, they represent all those struggling families barely making ends meet.
While guys like Scrooge are hoarding their wealth, social commentary at its finest.
Yeah, and then things take a darker turn. Ready to ditch the holiday chaos for a bit. Let's take a deep dive into a story that basically invented Christmas spirit. Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol.
Perfect timing, right? Everyone needs a little escape this time of year.
It's a classic for a reason, and we had a listener request to really dig into it this year.
I think even folks who haven't read it know all about Scrooge.
Oh, absolutely. He's become this iconic figure.
Proof that Dickens really knew how to create a character that sticks with you.
Speaking of Dickens, I was reading the intro to Our Edition by Anthony Horowitz.
Oh, yeah, the mystery writer.
Yeah, and, he admitted to finding Dickens a bit intimidating as a student, like kind of a tough read.
I can see that. Those long Victorian sentences can be a little daunting at first.
I think some people hear a Christmas story and expect something light and fluffy.
Right, but Dickens was a master at sneaking in these deeper layers.
Scrooge is a perfect example. He's not just a grumpy miser. He represents something bigger.
Yeah, he's like the dark side of that whole Victorian obsession with self-interest.
Which makes his humbug even more chilling,
Totally. It's not just about hating Christmas, it's about rejecting basic human decency.
And Dickens doesn't waste any time setting that tone right from the very first line.
Marley was dead. Just throws it right out there.
It's like he's saying, listen up, folks. This is serious business.
Even death doesn't get you off the hook if you've lived a selfish life. Like, pay attention.
And then we get that incredible description of Scrooge. Hard and sharp as flint, from which no steel had ever struck out generous fire. Can flint even make fire? I actually don't know.
Huh. Well, it's Dickens being a poet with language. He's painting a picture.
Okay, yeah, he's not literally talking about rocks. He's talking about Scrooge's character.
Exactly. Cold, unyielding, the opposite of warmth and generosity.
And you really see that contrast when Dickens describes Christmas Eve in London.
Yeah, you've got the cold, bleak weather outside.
But then, inside the shops and homes, it's all warmth and celebration.
Dickens was subtly pointing out the huge gap between the rich and the poor, wasn't he?
Oh, for sure. It makes you think about those less fortunate, barely scraping by.
And Scrooge is completely oblivious to it all, lost in his own world of money.
Speaking of getting lost, let's talk about Marley's grand entrance.
Oh, man, that image of him dragging those chains. Chillin'.
Cash boxes, keys, padlocks, ledgers, deeds, and heavy purses wrought in steel. Like, talk about weighed down.
Heavy symbolism there. Those chains represent a lifetime of greed.
It's like all that stuff he valued in life is literally shackling him, even in death.
Exactly. A powerful visual to set the stage for Scrooge's journey. And then enter the three ghosts.
The ghost of Christmas past is up first. And talk about a weird dude.
He's described as both childlike and old, right? Kind of a paradox.
Yeah, a walking contradiction.
That duality is interesting. Like, looking back on your past, it's bittersweet, right?
You've got those innocent memories, but also regrets, joy, and sorrow.
And this strange ghost kind of embodies all of that.
So the ghost takes Scrooge back to his childhood school.
Alone during the holidays? Sad. Makes you wonder, was Scrooge always meant to be this way?
Like, did he even have a chance at happiness?
Dickens wants us to wrestle with that question, doesn't he? We see these moments in Scrooge's past, but
we also see that we have choices. Even if your past is messed up, you can change.
Definitely. Okay, so then we meet Scrooge's sister, Fan, full of life, bursting into the schoolroom.
Bringing him home for Christmas.
Yeah.
That sibling love is so sweet, it makes my heart ache.
Fan represents all the warmth and joy Scrooge once knew.
And when she dies young, It's clearly a huge loss for him, like he never really recovers.
You wonder if he shut himself off emotionally to avoid that kind of pain again?
Interesting thought, because next we see Scrooge as an apprentice working for Fezziwig.
Fezziwig, the total opposite of Scrooge.
Right. He throws this amazing Christmas Eve party for his employees. Pure joy and generosity.
He's not rich, but he understands the importance of sharing and connecting with people.
Young Scrooge seems happy there too. So what happened?
Well, then comes Belle, his fiancée, and things get really real.
Yeah, she breaks off the engagement, tells him, "Another idol has displaced me, and if it can cheer and comfort you in time to come, I have no just cause to grieve."
Ouch! She sees right through him, you know?
She knows he's obsessed with money, and it's killing their relationship.
It's that turning point where Scrooge's heart starts to harden.
Man, we've only scratched the surface of Scrooge's journey, and I'm already hooked.
There's so much more to come.
All right, we're back and ready to meet the next ghost. The Ghost of Christmas Present. What a change from that somber Ghost of Christmas Past.
Talk about a party animal.
Dickens really went all out describing this guy. Surrounded by a feast, tons of food.
Yeah, representing that abundance and joy of the season. All that warmth and generosity.
Like a walking Christmas dinner.
Basically.
So where does this festive ghost take Scrooge first?
Well, you can't have Christmas present without a glimpse into the present, right?
Yeah.
So they head to Bob Cratchit's house.
Their tiny little home packed with kids. The whole family squeezed around the table for a Christmas dinner.
Always gets me, that scene.
Me too. So heartwarming, even though they have so little. And Tiny Tim's toast. God blesses everyone.
Heartstrings, man. Dickens knew how to play them.
He really did. But, you know, it's more than just a sweet moment. Dickens was making a point, wasn't he?
Oh, absolutely. He was shining a light on the reality of poverty in Victorian England.
The Cratchit family, they represent all those struggling families barely making ends meet.
While guys like Scrooge are hoarding their wealth, social commentary at its finest.
Yeah, and then things take a darker turn. The Ghost of Christmas Present shows Scrooge these two figures, ignorance and want.
Creepy kids.
And the ghost says to Scrooge, "Beware them both, and all of their degree, but most of all beware this boy. For on his brow I see that written which is doom, unless the writing be erased."
Whoa. Talk about foreshadowing.
It's more than that, right? It's like a warning for society.
Yeah, if we neglect the poor, the marginalized, ignore those in need, the consequences could be disastrous.
A message for all of us, not just Scrooge. Okay, and now for the main event. The most terrifying ghost of them all. The ghost of Christmas yet to come.
This guy doesn't mess around. Shrouded in darkness, completely silent.
Yeah. The embodiment of the unknown. No way to know what's coming next.
And that silence is powerful. Forces Scrooge to face the potential consequences of his actions.
What kind of legacy will he leave behind? The ghost takes him to the scene with a bunch of businessmen.
Chatting about someone who died.
But they're not sad or anything. They're more concerned about, like, what they can get out of it.
Money, possessions, who's going to benefit financially. Cold-hearted.
Yeah, like the guy's life meant nothing. A stark reminder that stuff doesn't matter in the end.
It's the relationships, the connections, those are what truly matter.
And then the ultimate blow. The ghost shows Scrooge his own grave.
Abandoned, neglected.
Like no one even cares he's gone. His whole life amounted to nothing.
That image, that's what finally breaks through to Scrooge. All that greed and isolation. And for what?
He completely loses it, begs the ghost, "Assure me that I yet may change these shadows you have shown me by an altered life."
He's desperate for a second chance, wants to rewrite his future.
He finally understands that he needs to change.
And that's what's so powerful about this story. It shows us that even the most hardened heart,
Even someone like Scrooge.
can be transformed by compassion. It gives us hope.
And then, Christmas morning.
What a turnaround.
Talk about a 180. Scrooge wakes up and he's practically bouncing off the walls with Christmas cheer.
Some people say it's too sudden, too much of a fairy tale ending.
Yeah, I can see that. But I also kind of love it.
Me too. I mean, it's fiction, right? We're allowed to have a little bit of that holiday magic.
Totally. So Scrooge, he's like a new man, showering the Cratchit family with kindness,
A second father to Tiny Tim.
spreading joy and generosity everywhere he goes.
It's beautiful how his actions ripple outwards. Like, one person's transformation can have a huge impact.
It makes you wonder if we all have the power to be that spark, to make a difference in our own little corners of the world.
I think so. It's about choosing kindness, generosity, connection, and not just during the holidays.
Dickens' message? It's timeless. It goes beyond the Victorian era and speaks to something deeper, something about being human.
Totally. So what do you say we wrap things up and come back for the final part?
Sounds good. We'll unpack this whole idea of transformation and what it means for us today. We're back, wrapping up our deep dive into A Christmas Carol. We were just talking about how Scrooge's transformation went beyond those big gestures.
It was in the small stuff, too. Those everyday interactions. The way he treated people.
It makes you think about how we all act during the holidays.
Right. All the craziness, the pressure. It's easy to get caught up in the stuff and lose sight of what matters.
Exactly. And A Christmas Carol, it holds up this mirror, you know?
It's like Dickens is asking us, hey, are you being a Scrooge?
Are we hoarding our time, our energy, our resources?
Where are we sharing, connecting, giving back?
Heavy stuff.
Yeah.
And it's not just a message for Christmas, it's for life.
Which is why this book still resonates today. It's about something universal, something we all struggle with.
We all want connection, purpose, that sense of meaning.
And deep down, I think we all want to believe in redemption. Like, it's never too late to change.
So as we wrap up, what really stuck with you in A Christmas Carol? What resonated? Was it Scrooge's change?
The Cratchit family. Their strength.
Or that message of hope?
That it's never too late.
How can we apply those lessons to our own lives, not just at Christmas, but all year round?
What little acts of kindness can we do?
How can we choose generosity, choose connection?
Dickens reminds us that Christmas isn't about stuff.
It's about compassion, about spreading joy, about being kind.
And from both of us, we wish you a very Merry Christmas.
Full of warmth, joy, and that true spirit of the season.
Thanks for listening to Witter, Who Has Time to Read, produced by One Media. Please support the author by purchasing the book or audiobook using the link in the description. It's a great way to help keep the art of writing alive. And stay in the loop. Subscribe to our newsletter for updates on weekly deep dives. And don't forget to share your thoughts or suggest our next deep dive at witterpodcast@gmail.com.